Hello there, and welcome to the Anime Strikes Back, a per-episode recap of the new Disney Plus series, Star Wars Visions. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrett Wilson, joined on this intergalactic journey by Rachel Mogan.
I'm going to have to come up with a new greeting.
Buongiorno doesn't
so
sound...
accustomed to our other show.
I know it.
I don't know what it should be. Are there any Star Wars-y ways to say hello?
Well, I said hello there because that's the most well-known. Then you're...
Yeah.
You could... Okay, so we can start the show. I'll say hello there. You say General Kenobi. And there we go. Because that's how we go.
Yeah, that sounds good.
For those of you who do not know who we are, this is a sideshow project of ours to focus on Star Wars Visions because it fulfills two loves for both of us. My love of Star Wars, Mogan's love of anime. So we thought that we would do a per episode review of each episode of Star Wars Visions and kind of not only talk about the episode, but also talk about the anime studio behind it and some of their other work. Unbeknownst to us, I didn't get the memo that Star Wars Visions was going to release all at once. I was under the assumption it was going to be a weekly thing, but hey, we're still going to make an episode per episode, so strap in for some fun. If you really like what you watch here, go head over to our YouTube channel where you're watching this episode probably, and give us a follow over at Team Chat Podcast where we talk about video games, the ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. But we're not here to talk about video games today. We're here to talk about Star Wars. So let's get into it, Mogan, with episode 1, The Duel.
The Duel. So, I don't know where to start. I'm not the Star Warsman.
Well, we'll start
You're the
off.
Star Warsman.
We'll start off by saying the studio behind it, which was
Yes. So
Kamikaze Douga.
Kamikaze Douga, I don't know if that's exactly how you'd pronounce it, but let's talk about them first.
Sure.
And then we can kind of talk about the episode because they're an interesting choice to have animated the first episode in this kind of revolutionary series.
Yeah, because it's a brand new take for Star Wars.
And it's a really interesting move that Disney and LucasArts actually put the Star Wars IP into the hands of studios that they really don't have direct control over.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an unusual move and something that you don't see a lot of from Disney specifically, of kind of giving the reins over to someone else.
Well, and I mean, it's also artistically, thematically. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say as much thematically because I know there are a lot of comparisons that can be made to The Mandalorian and other Japanese source material. And so, like, what is it? The Wolf and the Boy? Is that the one that's... I think that's what it's called. That's like kind of like the Mandalorian somewhat mirrors. Oh. And so, so that may be different, but still, in all of the work that Star Wars has done, this is like the visual shift is huge.
Oh yeah, the visual shift is massive. And speaking of which, Kamikaze Douga is, this is what I was trying to say earlier, is they're an odd choice for the very first episode of this kind of wild new series because their animation background is unusual. Unlike some of the other studios that we'll talk about later in this show, the things that they are known for are kind of strange. So it was actually, I'll go on ahead and say, it was kind of hard for me to find a lot of concrete information about this studio.
Sure.
Primarily because they don't seem to really animate full shows. Their specialties are animated openings and endings for anime. So one of the things that they're really well known for are they have animated the openings for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, specifically the animated openings between Phantom Blood and Stardust Crusaders seasons.
Okay.
So if you've seen any of those seasons or in between, those were all animated by Kamikaze Douga. They also did the animation for Soul Sacrifice Delta, which is actually a video game. So the original Soul Sacrifice was okay, I guess, but then they rebooted it to Delta and it got a whole new animation thing. They did a bunch of new stuff for it, so Kamikaze Douga did that too. They also did anime production, which I don't know exactly what goes into that, but they did anime production on a show called Pop Team Epic. Have you ever heard of Pop Team Epic?
I have not heard of Pop Team Epic.
Boy, howdy, it's a weird show.
I mean, I got to say, just for everybody to right off the bat, I am not very familiar with anime at all.
Yeah.
So which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. And I specifically wanted to do this because you talk a lot of anime to me and say oh, this one's really good. This one, I've heard from a lot of people anime is really good. I just haven't got into it yet. So I'm hoping this or I haven't gotten into a lot of it. I've been watching more. I'm trying to learn more. So that's why we're doing this.
This will tell you everything that you need to know about Pop Team Epic.
And then
I want you to try to put this information into the context of what you've seen with Star Wars Visions. They apparently did animation production for this.
Okay.
What do you think about that, buddy?
We're going to throw a picture up on that just so everybody can see this.
We're just going to throw a picture up.
But yeah, wow, okay.
Pop Team Epic made a big splash when it was released for very specific and obvious reasons. So the fact that they did animation production for Pop Team Epic is weird. And then apparently, and this I should have known because this one makes sense. They did the animation in conjunction with another studio called Yamato Works. They did the animation for that wild Batman Ninja movie.
Oh,
the one that was based in Feudal Japan.
That one was awesome.
Yeah, that was them.
Oh, that's tight.
It was so weird because finding that information was so much harder than all this other stuff. And I was like, why?
I feel so much more like cultured now. I know who we're talking about.
You do know who we're talking about.
Like, prepare for this because again, since I'm not as familiar, I wanted to be like, okay, I need to know. So I did actually watch the first episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Excellent. So you saw the opening then?
Yes.
Yes.
It was bizarre. I will say that. It was.
Strange.
I probably will not continue. It was odd.
It's okay. I'm you know what? I'm just gonna say it. I hate JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Just right out there.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, I was kind of like, this is interesting.
It's not for me.
I did watch it, and then I immediately went back and rewatched episode 1 of Star Wars Visions, the Duel, to kind of like see the comparisons. And then I did watch that video that you sent me too, of like the openings, the very first one. Yeah. And I did see the differences.
Yeah.
So not differences, similarities.
So the thing that Kamikaze Douga is really known for is their blend of 2D, 3D animation. So they're kind of considered like a hybrid studio because they mostly do CGI animation. So 3D CGI animation, but it's done in such a way that it very much incorporates elements of 2D animation. And a lot of what you would have seen in that opening, at least the first one, the first opening for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is that a lot of it had to do with like animated comic panels, which I think is really cool. So that's a great example of kind of where their specialty lies, is in this overlap between the two mediums. So they kind of do a little bit of mixed media animation. So their style is very easily recognizable, I feel like. It's not necessarily the kind of animation that I personally gravitate towards, but put into the context of the Duel from Star Wars Visions, I think it was such an interesting choice, and I love that the vast majority of the episode was in black and white.
It really was, except for like a
couple of pops of color
mostly in like lights on buildings or like in the droid character and stuff like that.
Because it's in black and white, they do a lot of fun stuff with the shading. And kind of because, again, it's 3D, but because it's black and white, it almost gives it more of a 2D look. But you're like, oh, but it's not, but it's 3D characters. So it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. How they did it in the Duel makes it almost look like it's almost like a flip book almost, in how like it very much like they have tons. And this is what I noticed in the opening the openings of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure you sent me, to comparing it to the Duel. They use so many very, very tiny detail lines.
Tiny brush strokes.
And those,
and
like
lines.
that in this, especially, and how they use those for shading and everything, really did make it so like it kind of has those like lines on faces and body and stuff like that had a very like rough feel to it, like almost
like
unrefined,
sketch.
like a sketch. And like it looked like each frame was literally like somebody flipping the book, which I know that's what animation is, but still it's literally what it is. But still, it just like, it really didn't have that smooth feel, but it did in a way still have that smooth. It was like an incredible blend, and I loved the look. Not to mention too, since it is totally black and white, and they even did like the film spot effect, like the film tears.
The
like
grain, it's got that grain over it that makes it seem like, oh, this is another thing that we should talk about. So the episode very, very heavily draws on kind of golden age Japanese cinema.
Yeah.
Like Seven Samurai.
Yes, Akira Kurosawa.
This is absolutely like a Kurosawa film. I'm to the point of almost parody. It was so much like that. I was like, okay, this is a bit much. This is a little overkill.
Which, Kurosawa, the Seven Samurai, was then an influence for the Western Magnificent Seven.
Yes.
And then you even see that into this movie, this episode as well. Which I love. Like Magnificent Seven is a fantastic Western movie. So like seeing all that stuff, I was like, man, this is cool. And like seeing those parallels, I was very into. But so where this episode, kind of the overarching thing of this episode, this is a recap, so we will be talking a little bit of spoilers in this.
Well, we're going to talk about the whole thing.
Yeah, we're talking about the whole thing.
Plus, it's only 15 minutes long. How are we not going to talk about spoilers?
You can't not talk about spoilers in this. So if you're looking to avoid spoilers, don't listen to this yet.
Go take a 15-minute break.
Come back.
Go to your Disney Plus account, watch it, and then come back.
So the setting of this is that there is a lone traveler, the Ronin. Who is traveling. Well, he's not lone. He's with a droid companion. He's come to this village that is then very soon set upon by a bandit tribe.
Marauders, banditos,
coming in,
villains.
trying to take over stuff, ruining the fun for everybody there. Which then I thought allowed a very interesting to kind of get the timing of where this takes place in Star Wars. Granted, Star Wars Visions is non-canon, so none of this stuff is going to carry over. There is a standalone novel, though, already about the Ronin character, which I want to read so bad now.
Cool.
But I'm assuming this one takes place post Rise of Skywalker because you can when
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you can notice the bandits are all wearing like old stormtrooper armor. The helmets specifically resemble the First Order ones from the later films, and the merchant that is talking to the Ronin in the episode mentions that they like using the remnants left over from the war. So the First Order's already been defeated.
Interesting.
These bandits are taking over.
That's
stuff.
the kind of thing that never
So just
in a
to like set the
million
timeline
years
for you,
would have
there you
occurred
go.
to me.
So yeah, these bandits come in, start wrecking shop. The guardians of this village, who I akin to the Magnificent Seven Samurai crossover, they come in and do their worst to try to like save the village.
First of all, the hero of the entire episode in my book, Swordbot, just the one that's like a floating hover droid.
So cool.
And he's got like 6 arms, and they've all got samurai swords. I was like, hey, that's my spirit animal.
Yeah.
That guy right there.
I loved it too. Like the droid with the heavy like sentry machine gun was so cool. The Grand, the 3-eyed alien, he was really cool too. Had like that shield on his back that he had. And then there was the Trandoshan, who was like the leader of the lizard guy. Like,
gotcha.
Who was like
I'm gonna need a lot of
sorry,
layman's terms.
I'll translate over for you. But yeah, the Trandoshan, who's like using these 2 really big swords, so badass there as well. So they jump in, and it looks like, hey, this is going to be done.
Yeah, they're turning the tide.
Oh, yeah,
It was looking like they were going to just have their tiny town overrun, and then nobody's kind of freaking out, and it's like, oh, that's why they've got a bunch of people that
this young boy stands up and is like, I'm the leader of this village, and attack! and all this. But while this is all happening, the Ronin is like up on this hill with this shop owner.
He's at a cafe.
Tea. Yeah, he's chilling. He's like, I'm not here for this. I'm here to relax right now. And but then the tide turns again because out of the Marauders, the bandit leader comes out, and originally these protectors of this village, they're like, we got this, no big deal at all. But then the bandit leader unveils her weapon, which is an umbrella lightsaber. It has like 8 blades, and the droid with the machine gun starts shooting at her, and she just turns it on, spins it, and deflects everything. And they're like, oh no, it's a Sith.
Oh, it's a Sith.
This is not good for us. And that moment is when the Ronin decides, I need to get involved.
Yeah.
And so he goes down, after all the protectors of the village have been defeated or, pushed away where they're not a threat anymore. Comes in and does, has a little one-on-one with the bandit leader, revealing both in this quick sequence was like 2 of the most awesome shots of this episode, which was when the bandit leader, again, very heavy spoiler here, kills the Trandoshan leader of the protectors by like force pulling him in, stabbing him through with these umbrellas, and then like doing the final kill and like spreading the umbrella. And I know it was bad for the Trandoshan, but oh my God, it was such a cool shot. But then, so the bandit leader attacks the Ronin once he gets involved, does this big leaping overhead attack, and the Ronin like is able to like pause the blade in between his hands using the Force. And the Sith leader is like, oh no, we've got a Jedi. Followed up by the most badass shot.
This was it was
in the trailer, so it's like you see it. But when the Ronin unsheaths his sword, samurai fashion, and just like, which you don't see lightsabers pulled from sheaths like that. So it's just, like as a Star Wars fan, like that, I was just like, it's something new. It's so cool.
The Jedi have got to get more style in their jive.
But I like that he's not a Jedi.
He's not.
And because she freaks out. She's like, your lightsaber's red. She thought he was a Jedi.
He's a former Sith.
Or either former Sith could be a Jedi. I think and which is why I want to read this book, because I need to get more information on the Ronin. But like, I think he's more living up to the Ronin name of the lone warrior with no attachment kind of thing. And he's what in Star Wars is referred to as a gray Jedi.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards his alliances right now.
See, I think that he probably was a Sith and that he's on his little redemption arc now because, as we see at the very...
Oh, yeah.
I think he's totally I don't know what you would call it, a
Reformed?
Sith.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, obviously we'll just kind of skip to the end.
Yeah, we don't
so
need to
the
go
rest
beat
of the
by beat on
episode
everything.
is just a sweet battle, a duel,
So
you
good.
might even say,
Yeah.
between the Sith Master and the not a Jedi. We'll just call him the not a Jedi. This part made me laugh because of how ridiculous it was. There's the point where they're fighting and they're starting to back up to the river.
Yeah.
And then they're both on that log that's kind of jutting out over the river. And then the Sith Master, for God knows what reasons, is like, it would make this battle. She doesn't obviously say any of this, but I think in her head she was like, it would make this battle even more cool if I chop this tree off of its trunk so it falls into the river so we get to have our fight on a floating log on a raging river.
Hey, but it
I
made
was
for-
like, that's a little silly,
It
but
made some cool moments, though.
It made for some cool moments, but it was a little silly. So they're going down this river, they're having it out. It's looking like a pretty even match, possibly even like the not a Jedi is maybe a little bit in danger. And at one point, she even gets him to where it looks like he may have lost. And she's like, drop your weapon. He looks like he's going to, but he doesn't. Instead, he's reaching for a tiny little button on his wrist to activate the droid.
Yep.
And so he activates from a far distance. He, I guess, activates his battle droid, and then the droid just shoots out of the restaurant, the tea house where it is, and it goes into town and starts busting up shop with rockets. And I'm like, cool.
Wrecking shop. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
And then, the duel continues. A little bit of bamboozlery on the part of the
Bamboozlery.
Ronin. And he's able to defeat the Sith bandit leader.
Yeah.
And it then goes back and, the episode shortly ends thereafter. After he has a little conversation with the Sith. Shows him collecting the Kyber crystal from the Sith's lightsaber.
Yes. So at the end of the episode...
And adding it to like a pocket in his robes with more.
So when he comes back to the village after he's defeated the Sith Master, the little kid, the kind of stand-in chief, because you get from a different shot that his father, the actual chief, is probably sick because it shows him laying in a house incapacitated or something. Yeah. So he's like, wow, a Jedi. And then they see that his lightsaber is red and they're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, this isn't good for us.
But then he drops the Sith Master's lightsaber on the ground, smashes it open to get the Kyber crystal, pulls open his cloak, revealing just a big long chain of stolen, or I guess maybe reclaimed, red Kyber crystals from other Sith. So that's why I think he's a reformed Sith.
That makes a lot more sense.
And he's on his redemption arc, and he's like, I'm going to kill Pokemon style. Gotta kill them all. So it's like, oh, well, he probably used to be a Sith, and we'll probably never know more about this guy, but it was pretty awesome.
It was amazing. And you know what makes this even cooler? Is that the Ronin is voiced by Brian T. This is the English voice cast. Is voiced by Brian T. The bandit leader, Lucy Liu.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. I guess I probably should have noticed that. She has a very distinctive voice.
But that's awesome. I saw that and I was just like,
of
Lucy Liu, how cool.
How cool. What is it with her and playing cool ninja-esque villains?
Because she's badass.
She's a badass.
So yeah, that just makes the thing even cooler. Awesome. This has been... for the first kickoff episode of this new series, I think it was an incredibly strong start. I also think it's good because it's probably the one that I feel like in promotional materials and stuff like that, we've probably seen the most of.
I wouldn't agree. I actually hadn't seen anything.
Oh, really?
Because I went into this super blind.
Maybe it's because I keep seeing like the stuff of the book and different things like that.
The
I
only
feel like
images
it's more pushed.
I know of are the ones that come directly from the Studio Trigger episodes, because those are easy for me to visually identify. There's no way I wouldn't know.
I think the next episode is a Studio Trigger.
It is.
And
the twins.
No.
Which one is it?
Tatooine Rhapsody?
Oh, no, that one's not Studio Trigger then.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it is. I think that's a different studio.
We'll know for sure when we actually get to that
we'll
episode on the next episode. But yeah, I'm very excited. I do want to pull it up just because I want to see it so we can give a little tease for the next one here.
On the next episode
the Anime Strikes Back, we will be doing our recap of episode 2, which is Tatooine Rhapsody. And from the description, it's going to be a banger because it's a band with big dreams must save one of their own from Jabba the Hutt and none other than Boba Oh, I'm excited. It's going to be great.
Is he really that good of a bounty hunter if he keeps getting foiled by children?
He doesn't keep getting foiled by
Okay,
children.
okay.
Shut your mouth. Have you seen The Mandalorian season 2,
sounds
episode
like he
5?
keeps getting foiled by children. Sounds like he's probably a shitty bounty hunter.
Damn it. Show's over, everybody. We're no longer doing the Anime Strikes Back.
Dissolved.
I hope you enjoyed this because we're done. Blasphemy.
I'm not sorry.
But no, super excited to get into episode 2 and the rest of this series, and can't wait to talk about it with you all here. But thanks for joining us for this first episode of The Anime Strikes Back. We will see you next time with episode 2 shortly.